Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Doctor, please, we are just waiting for others to join. In the next 2 minutes, inshallah, we'll be starting the program. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And a very good morning to everyone. Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to gather here today for another section of the CPS monthly workshop series. My name is Anjoni Isiak, and I am honored to serve as the moderator for today's workshop. It is my pleasure to be with you all this morning, and on behalf of the CPS IUM, I warmly welcome all participants who are joining us from different locations. Thank you for taking your time to be with us today. We are delighted to have you with us for this month's workshop. Today's workshop focuses on a topic that is highly relevant to researchers, postgraduate students, lecturers, and members of the academic community. The theme for today's section is finding your scholarly voice in the age of AI, writing authentic literature review. As you all know, that artificial intelligence has changed the way we search for information, the way we organize ideas, the way we review academic literatures, and AI tools can help us work more efficiently and access information quickly. However, one important question remains: how can we use AI while ensuring that our academic writing reflects our own thinking, our own analysis, and our own scholarly voice? This is an important question for every researchers and postgraduate studies today. Developing an authentic voice is now more important than ever. Hence, today's sections will therefore help us understand how to use AI responsibly while maintaining academic integrity and originality in our writing. So without further delay, let us begin today's workshop by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha Kitab. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce our distinguished guest speaker for today. We are privileged to have with us Associate Professor Dr. Adlina Bintil Haj Arifin. Dr. Adlina is an Associate Professor at the Department of English Language and Literature, Abdulhamid Abu Sulaiman Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, International Islamic University, Malaysia, IUM. She holds a PhD in education with a specialization in English for specific purpose from IUM. She obtained a bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of Malaya. Her research interests include applied linguistics, discourse analysis, digital communication, corpus linguistics, and forensic linguistics. She is particularly interested in language deception, authorship attribution, online discourse, and AI-generated language. Dr. Adlinian has secured 14 good research grants for both local and internationally. She served as the principal investigator for 7 of these projects. She has made significant contribution to research and publications. Her scholarly works include 20 peer-reviewed journals articles, both books and 4 books chapters. She is currently working on her 3rd and 4th books, inshallah. Throughout her career, she has received several recognitions and awards. This includes the Best Teacher Award in the year 2006, Morobi Award in year 2020, Outstanding Final Year Project Supervisor Award in the year 2025, IUM Top 30 Myra Contributor Award in 2019, Myra C-Star Award in 2026, and a nomination for the Anogera Academic Negara 2021. He has also served in academic administration for 10 years. During this period, she was the Deputy Dean of the Center for Postgraduate Studies, CPS, for 3 good years, and the Deputy Director of the Research Management Center, RMC, for 7 good years. Her current scholarly work focuses on the intersection of language, technology, and forensic evidence. To advance research in this field, she established a special interest group known as FLINTS, which stands for Forensic, Linguistic, and Investigative Network. She currently serves as its founder and chair. In postgraduate supervision, she is currently supervising 10 good PhD students and serves as the main supervisor for 5 of them. 2 of these students are expected to graduate in this November 2026. She also supervised 5 master students as main supervisor. 3 of them have successfully completed their studies and graduated. Dr. Adlinian is well known for her contribution to academic writing, research methodology, and postgraduate supervision. Through her extensive experience, she has guided many researchers, graduate students in developing their scholarly voice and producing meaningful research output. Today, she will share her valuable insight on how researchers can use AI responsibly while maintaining academic integrity, critical thinking, and authenticity in literature review. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Adlina bint Haj Arifin. Dr. Adlina, the virtual floor is now yours. You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Can you hear me, Brother Anjorin?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. آمين. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very, very good morning to everyone present here. Thank you, Brother Anjorin, for the delightful introduction of me. Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. All right. Now, let me share my slide. Okay. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, brilliant. Very clear.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. All right. Okay. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you everybody for finding the time to join me on this, I would say, intellectual journey. All right. Now, before I begin my talk today, all right, let me, I just like to share with all of you that of course, I would like to thank CPS for inviting me to give this talk. I think it is very timely. However, I have to admit that before I could think of a topic to work on or to share, I was having a huge dilemma. Okay, I was thinking, like, what is the main thing that you guys need at the moment? I mean, the postgraduate students, all right, and and also, and then I thought about AI, and I thought about my concerns about AI, and then when I thought it through, and I felt like, okay, this might be the platform for me to share with you my opinions, and also the knowledge that this little knowledge that I have with all of you, in terms of how to find your scholarly voice. When I came up with the title, uh, it I had to think a lot in terms of what exactly do I want to convey, and what exactly do I want my listeners to get out of my talk. So I have to choose the right words. So you can see that the main, in my title, the main thing that I wanted to focus on is the term scholarly voice. I think that's very important. And another word that you need to focus on is writing authentic literature review. Okay, these two terms are very important throughout the journey of this talk. Okay, that's number one. And number two, that I would like to share with all of you is that I believe, I believe that you will find my talk is going to be very, very different from other talks about AI. Inshallah, I believe so. I strongly believe so. I think at the end of the day,
Inshallah.
you will realize that mine is going to be very, very different. And I will show you why it's different. So now, to start the ball rolling, okay, let us start off the talk by looking at, okay, this is going to be the presentation outline for today, all right, in terms of covering the whole thing. So it will be divided into four main parts. Okay, first we look at the purpose of education, and we also look into the impacts of AI on human, and then we go into the mechanics of literature review, and finally we're going to look into how to develop scholarly voice in authentic literature review. Okay, so now let us look at the purpose of education. What is the purpose of education? All right. Right. So according to Einstein, and I want you to really focus on this phrase here. Education is not the learning of facts. I think that's one thing we have to really drum into our heads. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. So, brothers and sisters, okay, all of you here, all of you are postgraduate students. And what are you here for? You are here to train yourself to think. All right, that is what it is. That is the purpose of education. All right, to train our mind to think and not to regurgitate facts. That's not what it is. All right, so you need to be able to be critical in your thinking. You need to be able to be creative in your thinking. All right, now, well, this was said by Albert Einstein. Now, what does Al-Quran says about it? Okay. In the Quran, there are many verses and many surah that talks about thinking, which relates to reasoning and reflecting. The first one that I will bring to your attention is Surah Al-Anfal, verse 22, where Allah says, "Indeed, the worst of living creatures in the sight of Allah are the deaf and the dumb who do not use reason." Allahu Akbar. Okay, Allah has already mentioned it in the Quran. And what does it mean? He is asking us to use reason. Reason means thinking. The second surah, Al-Imran, verse 190, 191. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for those of understanding, who remember Allah while standing and sitting or lying on their sides, and give thought to the creation. Give thought to the creation. Okay? Again, the call for us to think, the call for us to reflect. Because it is only when we reflect on Allah's creation that we will remember Allah. And the last one that I will share is Surah Al-Hajj, verse 46, where Allah says, "So have they not traveled through the earth and have hearts by which to reason and ears by which to hear? For indeed it is not the eyes that are blinded, but blinded are the hearts which are within the chests." All right. So again, Allah is asking us to reason and reflect and to think. We should be thinking. And the second part is about verifying information. Okay, I purposely try to find a verse that fulfills this, verifying information, because of AI. Because we are being bombarded at the moment with a lot of information. But, well, some of this information, they are unverified information. So in the Quran, Surah Al-Hujrah, verse 6, Allah says, "O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance and become over what you have done regretful." Okay, so again, Allah is calling us to investigate, to verify whatever information that we have. So, brothers and sisters, all right, you are all in your journey to do your research. You are investigating. So within that investigation, you still need to investigate. You need to verify whatever information that you get, okay, particularly when you are using AI. Right. Now, having said that, all right, we look at Allah asking us to think, to verify information, to reason, etc. But look at what that is happening around us at the moment. Okay, I'm sharing with you snippets from the news that I got. The first one is this one here: too much AI, too little mind. The rise of brain fry. Has anyone of you heard of this term, brain fry? Can you just unmute yourself? Because I cannot see the chat. Can we have some kind of interaction here? Have you heard of brain fry?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Amizan. Okay, maybe to Amizan, yes, because he's my supervisee. But to others, okay, this may be a new thing for you, brain fry. This is a phenomenon where people are using too much of AI. It's the overwhelming use of AI, where you have different types of chatbots and you are being bombarded with all sorts of prompts to use with the chatbots. Okay, and the end of the day, you are not even thinking, you're just thinking about what prompts that has to go with into these chatbots. So that's basically brain fry. Okay, so you're like being engulfed, okay, in this and the use of AI. So it leads to brain fry, and this is based on research. Okay, right. The next one here. All right. Even our rector, Prof. Osman Bakar, has written on this issue as well. Okay, the title of the article is Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Creative Thinking. Okay, and he says here there, declining critical thinking, rising AI dependency, and a civilization at the crossroads. Okay, so these are his concerns. Okay, when we are relying a lot on AI, we are depending a lot on AI, there is a decline in critical thinking. So when this happens, are we actually abiding by what Allah says in the Quran? I will let you think about that. Another one, okay, that is also a very important study, and this was done by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, okay, where they found that ChatGPT, which is a kind of chatbot, okay, I'm very sure all of you are well versed with ChatGPT. Okay, ChatGPT may be eroding critical thinking skills, okay, according to a new MIT study. Okay, and you can find this in the news or online. It's there, right? So this is the visualization of the brain. They actually did studies on different types of people, those who use ChatGPT and those who don't use ChatGPT, and this is their findings. Okay, I just want to read this to you to highlight this. ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier. Oh, Allahu Akbar, got lazier with each subsequent essay, often resorting to copy and paste by the end of the study. So, all right, so this is the issue. When we are relying a lot on AI, when we are using too much on AI, right? Now, okay, and another issue that came across my view recently is about AI companies. Okay, this is another reality that's happening in the world at the moment. Okay, that AI companies are buying, and they're not just buying, they are also destroying antique books. Okay, and why are they doing that? Okay, they are doing that because they want to be the owner of the knowledge. Okay, which means that it's going to be impossible for us to get the physical books, because which means that they want to create a kind of dependency on them. So whatever, whenever that we want any kind of information of these antique books, we have to go to them. So they want to do that. Okay, they want to have the ownership of the knowledge, and this is very, very important, and this is very dangerous, I would say. Okay, now I want to also highlight here, you can read here. Okay, it says here AI companies have turned to using physical books because digital sources to train LLMs cause two major problems. So first is about LLMs. They are using, the information from the books to feed into the LLM, the algorithm. Okay, now the internet is now full of pages written by AI, and training new models on that text won't allow it to become any smarter. Okay, this is something we must remember. But physical books offer human authored and highly edited language, long form coherent reasoning, narrative structure, and other qualities short form web pages and AI generated text do not. Okay, so this is one thing we have to remember. All right, because the physical books, it shows here, what it means here is that physical books are much of a highly, is of more greater treasure than what you get from the web pages and from AI generated text. All right, so this is something that you must, I want to infuse in every one of us, that human writing is so much more superior than what you get from the AI generated text. Okay, so, okay, how does this affect you as a young scholar or intellectuals? So this is something that I want all of us to remember. I want all of us to remember this forever, that AI actually stands for artificial intelligence. Remember the word artificial. I purposely put it in red. Okay, it is artificial. It is never real. What is real is our human intelligence, which is actually a gift from God Almighty. And we must always believe that it's extremely superior than man-made intelligence. Okay, remember this. And as future scholars, I put here young scholars, all of us here, all of you, all postgraduate students, you are young scholars. You are training yourself to think as scholars. So we need to be proud of our own God-given intelligence. We need to take pride of our own work and our scholarly voice. And brothers and sisters, this is the premise of my talk today. We have to always honor this gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now we go into the mechanics of literature review. So I want you to listen, okay, and go through this talk with me with that in mind, that human mind is so much more superior than the artificial mind. All right. Now, with that at the background, let's look at the mechanics of literature review. Right? Now, literature review, what do you understand by literature? Anyone? It's kind of sad that I cannot see the chat box. Can you just unmute yourself so that we can have some kind of interaction, or else I'll be talking to the monitor and it's kind of boring.
Hi, Doctor. So,
Yes. Yes, I lost you. Feel free. Let's make this interactive.
Hi, Doctor. My name is Fatiha. I think literature here perhaps referring to a compilation of past studies.
Okay, thank you very much, Fatiha, another student of mine. So I'm checking the attendance, huh? All right.
Assalamualaikum
Yes.
warahmatullah.
Walaikum salam.
Doctor, my name is Ahmad. I am from Inhart. I think literature review means like existing data.
Existing data. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Right. Anything else? One last one.
Assalamualaikum,
Come
Doctor.
on. Walaikum salam.
Iram. And I think that literature stands here, only the word literature you put, not the review. So literature, the word stands for any knowledge, any written material, any written, availability of any written material which we can read and we can get the knowledge from. Only
Okay.
the means here. If we collect, if we combine it with the word review, then we'll go
Yeah.
that the reviewing of the provided knowledge, the reviewing of the written knowledge which we are having in front of us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sister. Thank you very much. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So brothers and sisters, let's make this a bit interactive here, yeah, or else all of us will be sleeping before 12 o'clock. Okay. Now, so literature, all right. We look at it as collection of previously published works. And when we talk about published works, it could be journal articles, it could be books, okay? And of course, credible sources, yeah? All right, we're not talking about some junks here, all right? So previously published works, okay, by scholars, okay? And we are not including some comments or some opinions that are being voiced on TikTok or on tweets or whatever. We don't regard that as being scholarly works. Okay, so I think I should put that previously published scholarly works. Okay, it needs to relate to certain scholars. And of course, since you are training yourself to be scholars, you should also get to know the scholars in your field. Okay, you have to know the big names in your field, and you try to look into their works, and then you try to cite their work. So you would have to have a compilation of the people in your field, okay, the scholars in your field, okay, or the experts in your field. So compile their work. So that's what it means by literature. Now, what does it mean by review? What is reviewing? Anyone? The sister just now has mentioned a bit of it, but what about the rest? What do you guys think? What is review actually? What do you understand by review? Anyone? Come on. Sorry, I can't hear you. Is it because of the internet? Hello? Anyone?
Hello, Dr. Assalamualaikum. My name is Amizan.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, I think I just want to agree and add on a little bit the points that have been made by our sisters just now. I think the review is when the written products before it gets to the publication stage, it needs to be studied, it needs to be scrutinized by the expert surrounding, you know, in the specific discipline. So this is where we can actually look into the most important things when it comes to published works.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Amizan. Okay, thanks. Amizan is talking about reviewing process before publication. Okay, that's what I gather from your reply, Amizan. However, for the review in your thesis, okay, when we say review, is when you are closely examining or studying those published works to make certain judgment, to arrive at a certain judgment. That's what it is. You are closely examining or studying something. Okay, so in short, this is my understanding of literature review. It is actually a process of closely reading previous studies related to your research, okay, with a very critical mind to understand and identify the strengths, the weaknesses, the debates, and concerns in the conduct of the study and the findings that were derived. That's what it means. All right, you are reading the study closely. So it's like when you are reading an article, you have to ask yourself, what is this trying to tell me actually? All right, what did they use? Okay, we will go through that step by step in a while, but this is the overview, the general understanding that I want everybody to get on the process of literature review. Okay, it is a close reading. Use your critical mind. And for what purpose? To identify strengths, weaknesses, debates, and concerns, and also to see whether the findings are justified or not. Okay, because brothers and sisters, I will have to admit that, you know, when we read journal articles, okay, even though it had been reviewed, it had been published, I have come across articles where, you know, it is published in Q1 Q1 journal, but you're like, how could this be published? Okay, because why? Because the methodology is not correct. Okay, and you have, you know, you have some concerns about the methodology that was used. Okay, for example, I'm just giving you an example. All right, so now when you want to do this close reading of the studies, what kind of knowledge do you have to have? So the first one is, number one, you must have good foundational knowledge of your research domain and the research methodology. Brothers and sisters, okay, this is very, very important. You must have good foundational knowledge of your research domain or your research field, okay? okay? And you must have good knowledge of research methodology, okay? You have to understand, if you say you are using quantitative, what is quantitative? What does it involve? The number of sampling, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm not going to go into that, but you need to have good foundational knowledge of that. If you want to use qualitative, you must be good at that as well. If you want to do corpus analysis, you must be good in that as well. You have to know your stuff. You cannot rely everything on AI to be doing all this thinking for you. No, you have to have that. You are the human to make the judgment whether that study has been done correctly or not. So you have to have these two things, knowledge on research domain and research methodology. Okay, so what's the purpose of literature review? Okay, a good literature review shows understanding of the field. Okay, so that means if you have done a good literature review, and if I were to read your literature review, I can see that, you have understood the field very well. Why? Because you have been able to identify the concepts that are related to that particular investigation that you are trying to do. Number two, you demonstrate critical analysis. Okay. Number three, you build the theoretical foundation. What are the theories that you are applying? Okay, so you must remember when you write literature review in chapter, normally literature review is in chapter 2, right? So you must have already start to think of what other theories that I'm going to use in my research. So it is only when you look at other studies that had been done previously, then you would also be able to identify the kind of theories that they had used. So in your study, you can decide whether you want to employ the same theory, or maybe because you are looking at it from a different perspective, you want to employ a different theory, a theory that had never been used before. So that will make your research different from the rest. Okay. The next one, positions your study in scholarly conversation. It positions your study. It positions and also it embeds your study. Okay, it embeds your study in scholarly conversation. It links your study. Okay, I think it's very important. It sort of make your study more grounded. Okay, this is a very important word. Make your study more grounded. Because why? Because your study is not floating in the air, brothers and sisters. You are taking it up from somewhere. You are continuing from a study that was done, and you're trying to contribute new knowledge to that field. Okay, so that's why doing a good literature review is very important. It grounds your research, okay, into the scholarly conversation. And next, it helps to accentuate research gaps. Okay, brothers and sisters, another important thing, okay, that you have to understand is if you come up with a good literature review, okay, you would be able to highlight, to accentuate your gap, your research gap. And mind you, research gap, you can have many gaps actually in your study. And I will show you how afterwards, okay? All right. And it helps to highlight the uniqueness of your study. The uniqueness. So this is for PhD students especially, there needs to be one part in your thesis where you put contribution of my study. Because when you go for Viva, the examiner will ask you, what is your contribution? How does your research contribute to the body of knowledge? And I want you to be confident to tell them, yes, my research is very unique because it contributes in this manner. Number one, number two, number three. So I'm trying to tell you that if you come up with a good literature review, you would be able to identify the different gaps, and you can also highlight the uniqueness of your study. Okay, in what way is it different from the rest? This is very important. In what way is it different from the previous studies that had been done, that had never been done before? That would be your contribution. All right. I hope all of you got that. Okay, so what literature review is and is not. Okay, so let's look at some important points here. All right, so a literature review is a critical and structured discussion of published studies on a topic. Critical and structured. It's not haphazard. Now, brothers and sisters, when I prepared these slides, number one, I have to admit I did not use AI except for the first page, the front page, the title page. Yes, I admit I use AI, but the rest of this, I put in my knowledge as a supervisor, as thesis examiner, as a postgraduate supervisors, and as well as a lecturer who teaches research methodology. I put all this into the slides that I have prepared today. So I have come across, various types of literature review. Some students, they just merely splash the whole thing, the research, just haywire, haphazard. You can't see any structure at all. You don't see any structure, and you don't see any critical minds within that literature review. Okay, so please remember, you have to have the critical element and the structured element. Number two, the literature review, it identifies existing knowledge and also tells you what's missing. Okay, what is the existing knowledge? So brothers and sisters, that is why when you remember, we talk about previous studies, in my opinion, if you want to know the existing knowledge, okay, or maybe I should ask you guys, okay, now for this one here, identifies existing knowledge. So if you want to identify existing knowledge, okay, in terms of the we talked about previous studies or previous articles, all right, do you think it is what's the range of those articles in terms of the years, if you want to know existing knowledge? What's the range of the year in terms of your choice of articles, if you want to know what are the existing knowledge, or what is the existing knowledge now? What will be the range?
Assalamualaikum, Dr.
Sorry? Salam.
I'm Fasiha. So from
Yeah, Fasiha.
what I've learned and practiced, should be within 5 years, the best.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So that is why, brothers and sisters, we need to, if you are talking about your domain of research, you have to at least have, to me, I think, maximum of 5 years down the road. Okay, which means now would be what? 2021 until 2026. Okay, for you guys now. 2021 until 2026. Okay? Because then only you know where that knowledge stops and how are you going to further investigate that particular domain. Okay? So that is why choice of articles is also very important. Okay? So 5 years. Okay, 5 years. But of course, you are going to tell me, but madam, what about theories? Theories is like, something that we don't have recent theories. Of course, I'm not referring to sources pertaining to theories. Okay, theories are like, it's like it was established a long time ago, and of course, we have to cite the original developer of that particular theory. Okay, so if it's in 1964, it should be 1964. But what I'm trying to tell you, or trying to bring your attention to, would be the articles pertaining to the domain, to your research domain. That's what I mean. Okay, so number 3, leads to your research problem, questions, and framework. Yes, because when you are doing your literature review, then you would also relate and start to think, okay, how does this actually relate to my problem, to the problem that I'm trying to solve? Is it similar? Is it the same? And what will be the questions that I should be focusing on? Okay, and also the framework. Framework here would mean the theoretical framework or the conceptual framework that you need to establish for any research that you do. All right, and number 4, shows how your research is similar or different from those previous studies. I think this is very, very important. How is your research similar, and to what extent is it different from previous studies? Okay, for example, let's say, you are reading this particular kind of study, maybe 3 or 4 articles, and all of them have been using quantitative approach. You are planning to do roughly about the same, but you are going to apply mixed method. So in your heart, okay, mine is going to be a bit different. So that's where you create the uniqueness of your study. If the rest have been using quantitative, you're going to use mixed method, quantitative and qualitative, okay, to go deeper into that particular topic, okay? All right, so number 5, helps to develop and accentuate the gaps in your research. It also justifies your research context and your framework, okay? So remember this, accentuate the gaps. It's very important, okay? Okay, so in other words, okay, literature review has the elements of analytical, of being structured, and there's element of synthesized. Okay, it's a synthesized piece of work. It's not individual. Okay, now, so what is not literature review? It is not a list of summary of articles. I have read literature review that is full of summary of research A, research B, research C, research D, and that's it. Without any kind of synthesizing or any kind of reasoning or critical reviewing, none at all. And I'm like, so at the end I will just write there, so what? I will just write in the report, so what? I don't get what you're trying to do. All right, next one. It's not a list of studies. Study A said this, study B found that. Okay, it's not a list of studies. It's not a summary of articles. It's not a list of studies. And it's not a place for quote dumping. Quote. Some students, they like to quote and they dump it. And after the quotation, they just leave it. They just leave. They just leave it for the reader to make sense of what they have written. I think that's very, very wrong. We're not here to try to make sense and figure out what is she trying to say actually. No. Okay, this is another important thing that I wanted to keep in mind. When you are writing your thesis, you should be writing with the audience in mind. Who are you writing it for? Brothers and sisters, who are you writing your thesis for? Can you please tell me?
I think the published works that I'm going to produce, it's going to be beneficial in each of the layers of the society. Like it could be people who's going to read my papers can be someone that is a lawmaker, can be a developer.
Understand. But it's like this. Your thesis. I'm talking about your thesis. I'm not talking about your publication of the thesis. I'm just talking about your thesis. Who are you writing it for? The answer is very simple.
For the society, for the public.
For the reviewers, for the lecturers, examiners, PhD
supervisor and examiners.
For the academic body.
People, before you can even give to the examiners to read, who is going to read your
supervisor?
Hello, me, okay.
Hidden in the plain sight.
brothers and sisters, you are writing for your supervisor. But even though she's in it, you cannot expect her to be mind reading what you have in your brain. You should spell out everything and pretend as if she's a stranger, she doesn't know anything about what I'm doing, and I have to spell out as much as possible. Okay, so please remember, the first person who is going to appreciate your thesis is your supervisor. After that will be the thesis examiners. All right. And after that, if you publish, then only it will be appreciated by the society. All right. So please remember that. Okay. So again, coming back to this, literature review is not a dumping site of quotations. If you want to quote something, after the quotation, please tell the reader what the quotation is for. Next, it's not personal opinions without academic support. Okay, not personal opinions. Never put your personal opinions into it. No one wants to know about your personal opinion because this is academic writing. You're not writing a diary. And next, no personal assumptions, please. Don't make assumption. Don't make assumption. Okay? You need to support whatever stance that you are making. All right? And you need to use academic support. All right. So the steps to write a literature review. Okay, so this is how I see it. So basically, the first step is, of course, you search and you collect the academic sources, right? That will be the thing that you have to do. As I mentioned to you just now, all right? If you say that you are, actually when you are writing your thesis and when you are doing this particular investigation in your studies, you are actually trying to acquaint yourself with the scholars in the field. I repeat, with the scholars or the experts in the field. So if you have identified these scholars, you should start to collect academic sources related to their works. And from, I would like to share with you my own experience when I did my PhD, all right? My PhD was, it was very, very difficult to get sources for my research because I was doing on something which was like, I would say kind of niche. I was looking into the reading of legal cases, okay? The reading of legal cases. So there aren't many published works in this particular area during my time, okay? And it was like in 2008. Of course, there was no AI, all right, no chatbots and all that. But what I actually did was, during that time, I contacted the library to get me, I came across this one article, and the library managed to get the article for me. And from that one article, what I did was, okay, I looked into the references. So that's how it's like snowball. From there, from one article, I build my sources, and then when the more I get, the more references I collect. So that was the kind of task that I had to go through. It was very meaningful, alhamdulillah. Okay, and I had to go to to the library, all right, to visit, to get the sources. So that was the hard work, but it pays off. Alhamdulillah, I like that. Okay, so the thing is, first you have to search and you have to collect your academic sources, and the next one is you have to read with a critical mind. You must read with a critical mind. Okay, next, you organize. After you have read, okay, each article, you have to read each article. Okay, there's no shortcut about it. I know many of you would prefer just to just read the abstract, or you're not actually looking into what went into the writing, what went into the studies that have been done. Okay, that's wrong. You must read everything that is written in the article, and after that, you make your notes. What is this all about? What exactly this paper about? How did they arrive at the findings? Okay, are there any flaws? Okay, critical mind, are there any flaws in the methodology that was used? You can always question this, you know. It's not wrong. You cannot believe that. I don't want you to think that you cannot believe everything that you read. You read. You cannot believe everything that you read. Okay? You must always question, is this true? Is this possible? How could this person got this kind of thing? You must always have that. And after that, you have to organize, okay, the however many sources that you have, you could put them into themes, the different themes. Okay, so that is why in your table of content for literature review, after the heading, you have the subheading, and sometimes you have the subheading. That's how you arrange your ideas. Okay, so you have to put them thematically. Next, you have to evaluate the patterns and also the contradictions within the article that you have read. All right. Next, I put that in red. Relate to your own study. I've read many literature reviews and I am so, I was very unhappy because many students, they were able to come up with a very good synthesis, but they forgot something. They forgot to have their voice in the literature review. They forgot to instill, embed their own scholarly voice in the literature review. You can only do that when you relate whatever that you have read to your own study. Okay, I'll show you in a while. I'll show you. Next, of course, you have to synthesize the ideas. Okay, you have to synthesize the ideas of all, after reading all these things, what is your synthesis? Okay, on the articles, on the reading of the articles, on the criticality of minds that you have put in understanding those articles. And finally, you use author's voice to write structured, argument-led discussion. Okay, so brothers and sisters, I want you to leave my talk today with this idea that you must have author's voice in your literature review. This is something that I keep hammering on my own supervisees. Where's your voice? Where are you? I'm not hearing you at all. This is just a mere report of various studies. I don't hear you. Where are you in the picture? It's lost. Okay, so inshallah, we will go through each of these steps very clearly, very slowly and very clearly. And inshallah, I will also show you how to embed your voice. Okay, so the first one, search for scholarly sources. Okay, well, we are living in the area of AI chatbots, artificial intelligence chatbots. What kind of AI chatbots are you familiar with, people? Anybody? Gemini, right?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Claude.
Anything else? Is that all? Okay, never mind. Okay. Now, brothers and sisters, don't worry. I am not going to go deep into this, the chatbots, okay? Because I realized that the university has been handling and having lots of workshops and talks and webinars on how to use AI, all right? And even I think recently Elsevier, they have this, how to use the Scopus, their Scopus collection to do a literature review. Okay, so you don't worry, don't expect that from me. I'm not going to go into that. Okay, I just want to bring your attention to this one chatbot. Okay, SciSpace. SciSpace. I have to be honest with you, I also learned this, okay, to use SciSpace. All right, but we're not going to go through go through this, know how to use this, okay? But one particular chatbot that, which I think is reasonably okay, is SciSpace, okay? Where, and I would like to credit this slides to Prof. Emilia Ritahani, all right, a lecturer from KICT, who did a workshop on something on this, on systematic literature review, all right? So she introduced us to this SciSpace. I have to be honest with you guys, I'm also a learner of this AI chatbots. I think, you know, even though I am traditional in my view of the use of AI, but I also learn. Okay, I have to learn to use these chatbots. Then only I know the flaws of these things. Okay, so you can use SciSpace. This is one of it. All right, you can try on your own. All right. Okay, so that's one. And if you use SciSpace and you, okay, just coming back to here. Okay, so you can put the prompt here, for example, okay, the example here, what effects does generative AI have on student learning, academic performance, and engagement in higher education? For example, this is the prompt that you put in. And then, all right, you will be given, you will come to this page. You will come to this page, and, you know, after the, you know, you do the advanced search, okay, you will be given this 93 papers, okay, for you to look through. Now, brothers and sisters, after you have gotten this, okay, what you need to do next, okay, is don't simply straight away copy, paste, and whatever, okay. What you have to do is you need to verify. Okay, you have to verify. Okay, once you have compiled the articles based on your prompts, you need to verify that they are credible sources. Okay, so brothers and sisters, this is a very important thing. You need to verify these sources. You have to read, go through each article. All right, because why? Because some of these articles, they may be duplicates. Okay, you may see duplication, number one. Number two, you may, of course, when we do our study, we want to cite indexed, highly indexed journals. So you need to go and see where is this thing published. All right, you do not want to be citing articles or sources from predatory journals. That is a no-no. So that is why you have to check, and this requires human intervention. You cannot leave it to the AI to do this for you. Definitely not. Okay. Next, you compile the sources in literature review metrics. And when I say literature review metrics, okay, I am more of a traditionalist. I use Excel, okay, to compile this literature review metrics. However, I'm not going to go through all that because I know that you guys are more advanced than me. What you can do is you can use Zotero and you can use Mendeley. Okay, so it means that you can, you know, from SciSpace, you can import or export whatever, you know, articles that you have identified into this Zotero library or Mendeley library to help you into your write-up later. But my point is, before you do that, before you import into Zotero or Mendeley, you must verify that they are credible sources. That is my advice to you. Okay. Now, step number 2, read critically. Okay. Okay. What is the meaning of read critically? Critical reading. What is it actually? What is the meaning of critical reading? Okay, number 1, when you read the article, you ask yourself, okay, what is the contribution? What is the contribution? Okay, meaning to say, the articles that you have selected, definitely they are within the domain of study. Okay, your what is it? Your scope of research. It is within your scope of research that you have set the parameters. Okay, but you want to see how are these studies contributing to that domain. Okay, so that you have to identify. And what are the methods that were used? What are the strengths and the weaknesses of the study? Okay, and where do the studies disagree? And what are the research gaps that remain? Okay, these are important questions that you need to ask yourself when you go through the articles. Okay, and also I believe, okay, you can also use SciSpace to help you answer these questions, because I noticed there is one function of SciSpace that is chat with PDF. This is something interesting about SciSpace. Okay, by the way, brothers and sisters, I am not trying to promote SciSpace, all right? I happen to know about it and I find that it's kind of interesting to use. But of course, you use with caution. You use with caution, okay? You can check with the PDF. You can ask, meaning to say you can select, for example, you select one article and you can check with the article. You can ask, okay, what is the, for example, what are the methods used in this study? So the AI will identify the methods and will bring it out to you. But of course, you will need to check. You need to check to make sure that this thing does not hallucinate. Okay, it does not hallucinate. And maybe another way, another safer way to do is to download the article and then you bring it up onto SciSpace, and so that the parameters is set within that particular article. So you know that this AI is not going to hallucinate. This AI is just going to answer me within the article that I have uploaded. And with that, you can try and answer all these questions here. So these are among the questions that inshallah will help you to read with more critical mind. Okay. Step number 3 is to organize according to themes and concepts. Now, what do I mean by this? What is the meaning of organizing themes and concepts? Okay. You see, brothers and sisters, just now I showed you that when you have, let's say we use SciSpace. Okay, so SciSpace has helped you to zoom on 93 articles. And after, for example, you browse through the articles and you check whether they are legit, whether they are, that they are not from predatory journals, etc., etc., etc. So maybe you eventually manage to get about 50 articles eventually, okay, after you have done all this, this deletion and all that, yeah? So you get about 50 articles. Now, these 50 articles, you have to read them critically, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to put them into certain themes. Like, for example, this article, all right, the methodology, maybe you want to look into the themes in terms of methodology, or maybe the themes in terms of the concepts that are being used, okay, the concepts that have been applied or that they found within that article. So you need to put them, you've got to make it more structured, okay? You need to put them in a very structured manner. It cannot be like, haphazard kind of thing. You have to sort of categorize, okay, articles A, C, G is talking about this theme. Article C, etc., 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 is talking about this theme. So you are categorizing them, and I think that's very, very important. Okay, you categorize them because that category will be the subheading in your literature review later, right? It can also be, you can also structure them according to concepts, certain concepts. All right. For example, just now we talk about academic excellence or student engagement. Okay. And you can also structure it according to methodology. Okay. Methodology, what this particular study, okay, it has used what kind of methodology. Okay, so you can also thematize it in that manner. And of course, you can also use chronological, only if needed, to show theory development. Okay, theory development. So this is also possible, chronological. For your information, for my PhD, mine was more on chronological. Okay, because why? Because the study is so niche. Okay, not many people have gone into it, have done anything about it. So I was able, alhamdulillah, to find the first person who did a similar study. I managed to go from the first person, second person, third person, fourth person up. I was able to do it in a chronological manner. Okay, so that is, this is how you can do it for your study as well. Now, coming back to sci-fi, I noticed that, okay, sci-fi can also help you, of course, to do this categorization. Okay, here, yeah, learning outcomes and challenges. Okay, let's look here. Generative AI supports cognitive development and understanding of complex topics, yet its efficiency is frequently threatened by risks related to academic integrity and over-reliance. Table 1 summarizes the key benefits and challenges identified across the literature. Now, brothers and sisters, these are the categories that the chatbot was able to develop for you, for us, the user. Okay, these are the categories, and these are the articles here, 7, 6, 4, 5. All these numbers actually refers to the articles that they got it from. However, brothers and sisters, I would like to advise you, please do not copy this, generative AI. You copy all this stuff and put it in your thesis. That is very, very wrong. Because this thing, when you read this whole sentence here, this thing is actually telling you what it was able to do and get for you. Of course, when you want to write it in your thesis, it's going to be different. Because remember, I said to you, you are writing for your supervisor and for the thesis examiner. This one is the AI talking to you. Very different audience. So that is why you cannot simply copy and paste this whole thing into your thesis. That's number one. Number two, even though, okay, caution, yeah, even though the AI has been able to identify, to determine, okay, this article number 7, 6, 4, blah, 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 you need to go back and read and check and verify to ensure that it is correct. Do not believe 100%. Please do not believe AI 100%. Okay? Because they are also flawed. All right? So take note of that. Okay? All right. Next, number 4, evaluate patterns and contradictions. Okay. Based on the themes of the sources, you need to identify the patterns for each source in terms of what? In terms of the findings. Okay, identify the patterns. Now you are trying to identify the patterns, because remember, when you have put them under certain themes, then only you look at, what each source, okay, or each article in terms of the findings, in terms of the methodology, in terms of the context and setting. Okay, so findings would be which sources agree or disagree to certain things. Methodology, which approach was used and which approach was not used or seldom used. Context and setting, whether it's local or international, whether the setting of the study, was it abroad? Was it in Malaysian context? Was it in academia or industry? Number 4, participants. The participants in the studies, are they students? Are they professionals? Okay. And what are the theories or theories that have been employed in those studies? Okay, now, why do you think, brothers and sisters, why do you think I'm asking you to look into each of these five things? Why do you think I'm asking you to do this? Any questions? Any reply? Any feedback?
Actually, when we get a published paper and we try to find out that we try to get the findings, so it means that we're trying to find out that what is the gap there in the, in the selected paper, what has done before and what we need to do, and how we can scrutinize our research by evaluating the past papers.
Wonderful, mashallah. Thank you so much, sister. Yes, brothers and sisters, you need to scrutinize. The word is scrutinize. You need to scrutinize the articles. Why? Because as our dear sister mentioned just now, you want to identify the gap. Brothers and sisters, that is the thing. Establishing, you got to establish the gap. You cannot just make assumption that, oh, there is a dearth in the study related to blah, 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 blah. You cannot just simply make that kind of assumption. You got to prove, okay, you got to prove that there is a gap in the knowledge. How can you do that? You establish that gap by having a good literature review. As I mentioned to you just now, earlier on, I said accentuate your gap or gaps, okay? So when you look into the findings, you want to know what people have found and what exactly have they not found. So that is one gap. The gap in terms of your contribution, okay, to the body of knowledge. So that is one. The gap in terms of the scope, yeah? Next, you scrutinize the methodology because you might be able to see the gap in the method. I want you to understand this, brothers and sisters. When we talk about gap, it's not just the gap in terms of the scope of the study, that people have not traversed into this particular part of the field, and I'm going to be the first one doing it. It's not just about that. It's also about methodology. You can maybe, as I mentioned earlier, previous studies, they have been using quantitative or qualitative, but none of them have used mixed method, for example. Or maybe some studies previously, they have been using corpus studies, corpus, without any extension looking into the social dimension. So you want to do corpus study plus social dimension, which means that you want to understand how people react to certain words, for example, okay, based on the corpus that you have developed. So it gives, then you see, you build the uniqueness of your study. But before you can build that uniqueness, you have to understand what is happening around you. Okay, you have to understand what kind of approaches that have been employed at the moment. So that is why you need to scrutinize all this. Context or setting, very important as well, okay? Because maybe this is the first thing that, or the first kind of study that has been done in Malaysia, for example. Okay, no other countries have done, other countries, foreign countries, okay, they have done this, but this study is still scarce within the Malaysian context. So that is another contribution in terms of context. So there's a gap in there, okay? And of course, participants. Previous studies may be using students, but yours is going to be a little bit different because, you're not going to look into students anymore. You're going to look into the professionals who are actually using the, using the methods or whatever, or, professionals who are actually involved in that particular field. For example, for my study, for my PhD, all right, I did the reading of legal cases, and my participants were two types. First, they were students, undergraduate students at the Kuliah of Law, Kuliah of Law, And another section or another type of participant, they are actually professional lawyers, because I also want to see how professional lawyers read legal cases, and I want to compare between students and professionals. So it's a kind of a different approach altogether. So that is also, you know, you are addressing a gap. Okay. And theories. Okay. You need to understand the theories very well. Okay. You have to go through and see, okay, what are the theories that have been used? And can I employ the same theory? Or maybe because I am looking into a different dimension of the field, I cannot employ the same theory. I will be using a different thing. So, you know, these kind of things. So when you scrutinize the sources very carefully and very meticulously, you are able to establish a few gaps, actually. Okay? Not just in terms of the scope. You can also look into methodology. You can also look into the context, the participants, and even the theories. Okay. Now, patterns that you have identified, of course, you need to compare to your own study. Okay, you need to compare to your own study. And by doing this, you will be able to identify the gaps in terms of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, comparing to your own study, you do the comparison in the literature review. Okay, you do the comparison in the literature review. Okay, you can say something like, okay, let's say, for example, Yusuf 2024, okay, utilize the. However, in the current study, okay, you cannot say another thing about academic writing. Yeah, I mean, this is a matter of preference, but I have always believed that when you write your thesis, you cannot use, do not use I, me, okay, the first person pronoun. Don't. Always refer to your study as the current study or the present study. Okay, so when you are when you relate to your study, always say the current study aims to or will be employing a different theory, even though it is within the same field or something like that. Okay, so that is when you do that, that is when you are actually having your own scholarly voice in your literature review. Okay, now, step 6, synthesize ideas. What is the meaning of synthesis? Anyone? What is the meaning of synthesis? We hear this a lot, right? Synthesize your ideas, synthesize your ideas. What is the meaning of synthesis?
Maybe to patronize.
I'm sorry?
Maybe to patronize.
Patronize, to patronize. Okay, right. Any other comments? What is the meaning of synthesis?
To combine different facts or ideas, and then we create our own conclusion based on that informations.
Wow, wonderful. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Okay. Yes. Okay. To put it simply, synthesis means you integrate multiple sources or pieces of evidence to develop a brand new perspective or argument, rather than just summarizing or analyzing individual parts. Okay, this is a skill that you have to have. Okay, you need to synthesize. Okay, you need to, after you have read all these things, okay, you need to integrate. Okay, you have understood the patterns, you have seen the contradictions. Okay, this group of people, they are against this group of people, they are for it, you know. So how are you going to integrate all this negative and positive into one kind of argument that you are going to bring forth? Okay, so this is the idea of synthesis. Okay, I cannot be teaching synthesis here, but if you still don't understand it, you must learn how to do it. Okay, right. Now, look at this paragraph and tell me your opinion about it. Is this a good synthesis? Any feedback? Anyone?
There's no in-text citation.
I'm sorry?
There is no citation or any in-text citation in the paragraph, Doctor.
Okay, right. And yet, when we do literature review, there needs to be in-text citation, right? Okay, it cannot be just a simple kind of thing like this. Okay, right. Thank you very much for that. For highlighting that. Okay, so what is the problem with this synthesis? Okay, number one. Let's look at this. Okay, a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems with this particular synthesis. Okay, now, but before we go into each of this is what I want to highlight to you. Look here, yeah. Look at the first sentence. Don't go any down further. Just the first sentence. Many studies have shown that AI-assisted writing tools offer significant support in improving linguistic accuracy and academic expression. Now, brothers and sisters, look at that sentence. Many studies have shown. I want you to be honest with me. All right. How many of you have used this kind of sentence in your work? Many studies have shown. How many?
Me,
Can
Doctor.
Yeah. Who else?
Doctor, I think we cannot use this because when we do the literature review, we review the papers like one by one. Or we compare in one paragraph, we compare the one or two papers together. So can we write many studies like, I think cannot like this.
Yes, that is what I'm trying to say, sister. It should not be written like this. Many studies have shown that AI-assisted writing tools. This phrase here, many studies have shown. It should not be written like this, but many students, unfortunately, they do this. And when I read this, I will always like, where are the studies? This is what I said, brothers and sisters, you are making assumption. When you say, many studies have shown that AI-assisted writing tools, blah, 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 blah. Where are the studies? I don't see the studies. If there is a study, if you say that, you see, brothers and sisters like this, when you have sentence like this, many studies have shown that AI-assisted writing tools, this is just, when I read this and I don't see any in-text citation, okay, I know that you are just making your own assumption. You are just making your own assumption, and assumption means you are not referring to any sources at all. This is just something that you just write because it's fancy. This is very, very wrong. Okay? But I want to highlight to you, it is wrong. Unfortunately, it is very common. So please avoid writing this kind of sentences. When you say many studies have whatever, at the end of that sentence, I want to see the list of studies that you have referred to, which enable you to arrive at this intellectual decision or judgment. So please, brothers and sisters, this is unforgivable. Okay, you cannot do this. This is wrong. I'm telling you this is wrong. Okay, now let's look at the problems. Let's look at the problems. Okay, number one, no citations. Claims such as many studies are unsupported. So this is what I'm trying to highlight, because I see this very, very commonly done by students. Okay, this many studies. It is so wrong. Please, don't do this. Okay, listing rather than synthesis. One benefit is simply added after another. Okay, this is a method of listing. Listing. Repetition, tools can help. They can also, in addition, is a repetition. There's no comparison between studies. No comparison is made at all. No agreement, disagreement, or differing perspectives, none at all. No critical evaluation. The writer doesn't question the evidence. No authorial interpretation. We don't see what the writer thinks the overall literature means. This is a very generic conclusion. Okay, look here, conclusion. Therefore, AI-assisted writing tools have both advantages and disadvantages for academic writing. Very, very safe. Okay, a very safe conclusion. It's a very generic conclusion. Anyone can do that. And there's no research gap at all. The reader doesn't know what remains unknown. Okay, so brothers and sisters, in other words, this is a no-no. This is an example of an unacceptable literature review. Okay, and of course, the most important thing missing is the author. Where is the author in all of this? Okay, this is more like a simple essay. That's it. I don't hear the author at all. Okay. So, synthesize the ideas. Okay, we'll look at this one here. Firstly, is it the same as the previous one?
No.
Why?
Because this paragraph, it has citations, it has comparisons.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, it's very, very different. Okay, right. So remember just now we talked about many studies at the beginning of the paragraph. Here, see, studies have shown that AI-assisted writing tools offer significant support, blah, 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 blah. And you have this, Lopez and Malik, 2023, Han and Chen, 2022. This is, brothers and sisters, what we call synthesis. This is the marker for synthesis. When you say that, yes, doctor, I have synthesized the ideas. Okay, where is it? Here. This is the marker. When you have the bracket, the name of the author, and here you have the semicolon. This is the marker for synthesis. Okay, so brothers and sisters, from now onwards, remember, you must have, when you have many studies or studies, whatever, you must have this marker for synthesis to support the claim that you are making here. So that shows that it's not based on your personal assumption. It is an academic decision. Okay. And then you have however. Okay. However tells you what? It is an indicator of what, brothers and sisters? However.
Contradiction.
Contradiction.
Thank you very much. Very good. Contradiction. Okay. Right. So contradiction. So you are bringing, so this is where I'm listening to the argument that you're trying to make. This is not AI writing. This is you writing. Because you, at first you're saying this, and then you want to bring forth another argument. You're bringing in however. So I'm listening to you that you are saying, okay, however, doctor, okay, even though they are saying this, okay, Han and Chen note that excessive reliance, Okay, so I can see that argument you are bringing or building that argument. Okay, all right. And here, taken together, these studies indicate that AI can enhance academic writing quality, but its impact varies depending on students' usage patterns and level of academic maturity. Now, yet research remains limited. Now, what does this tell you? When you have things like this, yet research remains limited, what are you moving on to show? What are you trying to show here?
Research gap.
Yeah.
Research gap.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Research gap, which is still limited. Okay. Regarding postgraduate students' perceptions of ethical AI use in writing, particularly in non-Western academic context, non-Western. So which means that in Malaysian context. Because maybe you have found that, okay, in other contexts, it's kind of common. In the West, they have done a lot of studies on this, but it is still lacking within Malaysia. So you say in non-Western academic context. So a lot of information that you can get here. Okay. To put it simply, okay, of course, this is a much better version than the previous one. Okay. However, brothers and sisters, I want to highlight this. The synthesis does not relate to the current research. There is still something lacking. Okay, even though it's already good, but in my opinion, it is still not good because you are not telling me, because it's like this, brothers and sisters. After you have mentioned to me the gap of the study, the gap in the body of knowledge. Okay, let me put it this way. You have already identified the gap in the body of knowledge. Are you just going to leave it like that? Of course not, right? You should be coming back to, okay, what am I doing? What am I investigating? Then you relate to your current study and then you say, thus the current study aims to address this gap by, okay, you must always come back to your study. And I find this lacking in many of students' literature review. They're able to identify the gaps, methodology gaps, scope gap, okay, or the gap in the knowledge, but they just leave it like that. It's as if after you have identified the gap, that's it, I'm done with my job. No, that is very, very wrong. Okay, you need to come back to your study and tell the reader what you aim to do. Okay, now scholarly voice in authentic literature review. Now we go into this using author's voice. Okay, now what is author's voice? Anyone?
The way that we write. Yeah.
Okay, highlighting your own voice, right? Highlighting your own voice, yeah? So brothers and sisters, please remember, literature review is not a reported, when the reader reads your work, okay, the reader should not feel as if the person is reading, something like a reported speech, okay, without the human voice in it, okay? So author's voice means you lead the discussion, you evaluate and connect the studies, you show your stance based on evidence, and it is not your opinion, but your academic judgment. Okay, that is what author's voice is. So useful academic moves, okay, is a few that I can share with you. If you want to show comparison, you can use while X argues this and Y suggests that. Okay, evaluation, although useful, this study overlooks. Synthesis, taken together, these findings indicate. Gap, however, few studies examine. There are various ways of saying it. I'm just sharing with you a few. Your study, to address this gap, this research will. Okay, so the last one is actually to relate to your own research. Okay, now activity 1. Okay, read the paragraph below. What do you think about the review that had been done, good or bad, and why? Is this a good review?
Not really. There's a lot of repetition.
A lot of repetition. Okay, yes. Anything else? I think some people are trying to say something, but
The author voice.
Okay, right. Okay, let's proceed. Yeah. Okay, now this one here. Okay, what is the problem with this paragraph? Okay, let me show you. Yeah. The issues with the synthesized paragraph is, okay, this one. Yeah. This whole thing. Yes, you do see the in-text citation. You do have the citation, Smith, blah blah blah. But if you notice, it's just a study by study reporting. Smith says that, Jones says this, Lee found this, you know. Okay, here. Smith, Jones, Lee. All right. No synthesis. Okay. No synthesis is done. The studies are placed next to each other rather than connected. No comparison done. We don't know whether the researcher agrees or disagree. No evaluation. No assessment of the strength, weaknesses, or implications. Little interpretation. The reader is told what researchers said, but not what it means. Weak authorial voice. The writer is essentially a messenger for other scholars. And predictable conclusion. When you have something like therefore generative AI has more advantage, it's like, oh, you're really playing safe. Okay. Right. And here, however, okay, however is to denote a different idea. But then again, all right, you are not actually giving any kind of your own conclusion, okay, or your own argument. What are you trying to argue? All right. So this is not a good example. So it sounds academic, but the writer's voice is almost invisible. And this is a classic problem of source A says X, source B says Y, source C says Z. This is not really a conversation among sources. Okay, now activity 2. What about this one?
Doctor, I have a question. Can I please ask?
Yeah, sure.
Previous slide. When you were showing us the, the paragraph, this one, the previous one. Yes, this one. Yeah. I ask that is it good that when the literature review closes a paragraph like this, and at the end, the scholar can say that I agree with Brown or I disagree with Smith, or but can he show that I'm going to I agree with the idea of Brown that it may result in academic dishonesty, and my research further investigates in this further investigates these complexities of using the ChatGPT.
Wonderful. Of course. Yes. That is where you are actually infusing your own author's voice. Okay, so because you are extending from what Brown has done, okay, and you are looking into, you are going to investigate the same issue, okay, further within the context, your own context.
Yeah, and we can say that I disagree with Smith and Jones and Lee, but I agree with the idea of Brown, and I'm going to investigate it further. Or we can say that this research is investigated further. So we can clearly tell. We can clearly tell that in our research that we disagree with Smith. Can say like that.
Of course. Of course, you can do that. It's not wrong.
Thank you.
Okay. Don't feel. Oh, I'm so afraid, to do that. No, why should you?
Thank you.
Okay, you have the authority to do that. Don't worry. Okay. Right. Shall I move on? All right. Thank you. Okay. So this one here, coming back to this. What about this one here? This is the good one. Okay. In the interest of time, I think I have to speed up a bit. Okay. All right. So, okay. So let's look at the one that I showed just now. So this one here, okay, it is a much better paragraph. It's a much better review because number one, there is synthesizing. Okay, instead of Smith says this, Jones says that, Lee says this, we get, look at the first sentence. Research on integrative AI suggests that its contribution to academic writing extends beyond simple language correction. So this is, a statement that you made. So the writer has grouped and interpreted the literature. Okay, so try to do something similar to this. Okay, next, why is it good? because you can see the relationship between the sources. Okay, here. While Smith and Lee emphasizes its potential to support blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you can see, you know, that communication. So now the sources are talking to one another and the writer uses the studies to make a stance, to make the stance here. Okay, this will appear to depend considerably on how students engage with the technology. And then writer uses the study to give further evidence to support the stance made in the previous sentence. So here, Jones, the author uses Jones as an example to support here. Okay, the stance is benefits appear to depend considerably on how students engage with the technology. So that is the stance of the study. Okay, all right. So please, you know, this is how it should be done. Okay, you need to create relationship between the sources. Okay, next. Showing contrast. You also need to look at the other side of the story. You cannot be talking about just positive, but you don't want to address the negative. That's very wrong as well. Okay, so you have the negative as well. Okay, you highlight the negative, but after that you counter that negative. However, the supportive role becomes problematic when you are showing the contrast, and here we know that you are trying to propose a debate. Next, here you are adding your own interpretation. This is your own interpretation, and this is your scholarly voice. Taken together, this study suggests that the central issue may not be whether students use generative AI, but whether they retain intellectual control over the writing process. So this is what this comes from you. So the writer has moved from what others say to what I understand from what others say. So that's how you come up with this statement. Okay. And next, you identify the gap. So when you say what remains insufficiently explored, however, is how students develop and maintain an identifiable authority voice when AI becomes embedded in the literature review process. Okay, so you see, this is when you are identifying the gap in terms of the body of knowledge. Okay, so it begins to answer what do we know, what don't we know, what does the gap matter? And lastly, you relate to your own study, okay, where you say, does the current study aspires to address this gap? And you can add further, okay, you can make it longer. All right. So this is important. This last stage is very important, which many students always miss. They always miss. They're always like, because for me, I was like, every time when I read this, I was like, okay, you have identified the gap. So what? So what's next? What is your plan? What is your plan? So you have to tell me your plan. When you relate to your own current study, then only I can see what you plan to do in your research. Okay. So in conclusion, okay, weak literature review like this, the sources are speaking, the writer is silent. Strong literature review, the sources provide the evidence, the writer provides the argument. So the argument must come from you, not from AI, not from chatbots, please. Okay, AI summarizes the literature, your scholarly voice must synthesize it. Okay, a literature review is not a collection of voices, it is your scholarly conversation with those voices. To ensure meaningful conversation, you cannot leave it to the whims and fancies of AI chatbots. So that is why you need to do the thinking, you need to build your own stance, you need to do the comparison, etc., etc. Why am I saying that? Because you would have to use AI with caution, because many studies have shown that AI, they do hallucinate, they go for unverified materials, sometimes they go for predatory journals, and most importantly, they are biased. They are biased, brothers and sisters. I have done a study with my own students, okay, where we look at the biasness. We want to identify whether there is bias between DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and Gemini. Okay, by using prompts on issues that are very delicate, okay, very sensitive issues, and we are able to identify that biasness. Okay, all right. So please, very careful. Okay, they are biased. The one that's not, I mean, that is why we need to verify everything that we get from AI. Okay, last one. Look at this last activity, A and B. Can you please tell me when you read between these two, which one is human, which one is AI? And why?
I think B is AI generated.
Why?
But okay.
Because they use specific vocabularies that indicates it is written by AI. For example, the erroneous
erroneous
infinite
citations.
possibilities.
Okay, right. Infinite possibilities. Okay, right. Okay. Any other?
Doctor, I think that the paragraph A is AI generated. The paragraph B is the human written one.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Because when we look at the sentence structure, the B is giving it starts with in this era of rapid technological advancement. So this is a sentence structure which we follow as a human. But the paragraph A, it is having a structure which sometimes the machines it looks like no one from like we don't start, a human don't start the speech or paragraph like this, I think.
Okay, all right. Any other opinions?
I would say B is the AI and A is the human, because
Why?
the paragraph A is already showing the slight error of no one from the this generation, while B is full of, like our colleague said just now, many terms are quite machine-like, I would say. On top of
Yes.
that, in paragraph A,
Hmm?
there is one word that I would say humans use. It says, but
Mhm.
those who have been using this AI religiously. This is like a casual term that we actually use. But for B,
Like when we speak, right?
yeah, we speak like that as well.
Using AI religiously, right?
Very unlike
Alhamdulillah.
it.
So, okay. So, the verdict is okay. A is human, B is AI. Okay. Now, what is my point in showing this to you guys? Okay, brothers and sisters. You see, when you are writing your thesis, okay, do not ever get AI to write it for you, because it can be detected. If you yourself can detect the differences between human and AI generated text, okay, what do you think? Do you think Turnitin will not be able to do that? I'm highlighting this to you because this is a serious matter. This is a serious matter, okay? I have come across many work that had been used, where students use a lot. I mean, AI. There's a high percentage of AI. Sometimes it's even 100%, okay, of AI in their essays or in their work, academic work. Okay, so please do not use AI to write for you. You are the human. You should be the thinker. Okay, so please, okay, you don't jeopardize your future, your intellectual future, by resorting to this robot. Okay, because it's so glaring. The differences are so glaring. You guys can see it yourself. All right. Okay, now some sources that you can use to develop your own scholarly voice, which I can share here. The first one is, of course, you have to have knowledge of APA citation style. Please have good knowledge on that, how to do it, okay? And then here, Manchester University Academic Phrase Bank. I'm giving you a snapshot of this website, okay, where if you go to this website, okay, for example, if you want to compare and contrast, okay, you can just click on this thing, and it will give you the phrases, the appropriate phrases that you can use for you to use here. If you want to give examples, if you want to describe quantities, if you want to describe trends, okay, you can make use of this phrase bank. Okay, So it's in the website. All right. And okay, in conclusion, so where do AI and human meet in terms of this, in terms of writing a good literature review? In my humble opinion, if we were to follow the 7 steps just now, AI should only be used in the first 3 steps until you organize your themes and concept. After that, when you start to evaluate, when you start to relate to your own study, when you start to synthesize, and you start to build your own argument, this needs your own input. And this is where your thinking process comes into the picture. Don't allow the robot to do the thinking for you. The robot is flawed. The robot has no religion. The robot has no culture. Okay? So please remember that. In conclusion, I just want to come back to what I mentioned just now. You may use whichever AI chatbots that you are familiar with, but at the end of the day, you must be the author of your work. Do not allow a robot to dictate your intellectual contribution to the world. And your intellectual contribution is actually your thesis. Okay? And please take note of this. I just want to bring back the study by MIT. The more ChatGPT you use, you have the lowest brain engagement. It's underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels, and you become lazier. And at the end of the day, you will just copy and paste. Okay, and we don't want that. We don't want that because we want to go back to the purpose of education. And remember that AI is merely an assistant. We are the owner of our thought processes, our words and actions. We have the responsibility to uphold integrity and accountability in our work. If something goes wrong, are you going to blame AI? Of course not, because that thesis is under your name, unless you want to put it under AI or under ChatGPT. And finally, in your intellectual pursuit, the process is more crucial than the product. I'm telling you, people, I've gone to it. The process is more crucial and more meaningful than the product. The becoming of a scholar is the main element that shapes what you become as a scholar at the end of the day. The becoming of a scholar. The training that you are doing now will shape the kind of scholar that you will become at the end of the day. We do not want any flawed scholar. We do not want any AI scholar. We want a true Islamic Muslim scholar who are thinkers. That's what we are trying to build within the university, not AI scholar. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so again, find your scholarly voice and write authentic literature review. Okay, thank you and all the best in your journey. That's it. Thank you very much, everybody. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Adelina, for that insightful and thought-provoking presentation. I believe, just like me, many of us have gained practical strategies on how to use AI as a supportive tool while ensuring that our own scholarly voice remain at the center of our research writing. Dr. Adelina, thank you so much. Your sharing has certainly remind us that technology may assist the process, but authentic scholarship still required our reflection, our critical engagement, and our intellectual ownership. Jazakumullah khairan for such a wonderful and highly resourceful section. Thank you, Prof, for that insightful section. Now, we will now proceed to the Q&A section. Participants are actually welcome to raise their question through the chat box or by raising their hands features if we prefer to actually hold the floor to ask our questions. So as we begin, I will also remind every one of us to keep the question concise so that more participants may have the opportunity to engage with our speaker. However, time is fast spent. This is like 12:01 now, and I want to actually encourage us to actually make our question more precise. So I look into the chat box, perhaps if there are any other questions that are okay. Any question? Okay, kindly provide the record of the video webinar after the lecture. The organization, the organizer is going to look into this, inshallah. Okay. Someone asked, how many is considered many students? Any appropriate rough number? Perhaps maybe you can recollect at the stage where this is being discussed. Thank you.
How many is considered many studies? Any appropriate rough number? Okay. Oh, Tia. Okay. Also my student. Okay. It's considered many studies. Okay. Yeah. In terms of the appropriate number, okay. Again, it goes back to me. It's like this. If I mean, again, I have to go back to my own PhD journey. Okay, because that's where I learn a lot. So that's why I can share with all of you. For my PhD journey, in terms of the number of studies, okay, I mean, if you are talking just studies related to the reading of legal cases, okay, I had roughly about 10 because it's very niche. There are not many studies, okay, in this particular area. But to me, Tia, if I were to do a study, I mean, currently for my research, when I browse through the any kind of sources, okay, as I mentioned to you, the first thing I will do is I will look for studies that had been conducted recently. I will move backward, which means that I will look at 2025, 2024, 2023. Okay, and I will read and see, all that are related to what I'm doing. Okay, so to me, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to prescribe a certain number because our contexts are very different. Okay, but to me, it should be sufficient enough for you. It's like this, maybe the clue can be the number of articles or sources that you refer to must be sufficient enough for you to establish, okay, the gaps and to further understand in terms of the limit of the knowledge that has been achieved at that moment or in this present time. Where is it? Where is that border? Okay, right. So I think that should be it, rather than me telling you, oh, 100 or 200. No, I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. I think we can just wrap up with this last question. The brother said, how do we learn to think critically? I remember that you mentioned something like that, but we just want to just within the few seconds that we have to just wrap it up with us. Thank you, sir.
Very simple. How do you want to think critically? Whenever you see something, you always ask, is this correct? You must always have this, this inquisitive mind, like, for example, if someone comes to you, I mean, you can train yourself, on an everyday basis. If someone comes to you and tell you something, don't simply, oh yeah, it said. No. What is the basis of you saying this to me? You get what I'm trying to say here? Or even when critical thinking also happens when we get WhatsApp messages. When we get this, don't straight away forward. Ask yourself,
yeah.
this doesn't look right. I mean, start to question, is this true? I don't think so, even though it's sent by my mom. You check first. You got to verify the information. That is why, actually, what I'm trying to tell here is actually just you can apply this beyond your thesis. You can also apply this within our own daily life. You must always question. Don't straight away believe just because some some whites, they write beautiful paper. Don't think that is all correct. That is why I said you yourself must have enough knowledge in terms of the body of knowledge as well as methodology, because then you can question. I don't think this is credible. I don't think this study is correctly done. But you must support with evidence. That's what it is. Don't simply believe, oh yeah, it's true, it's true. Just like ChatGPT. Okay, excuse me. By the way, please don't get me wrong. Don't think that I am anti chatbots and all that. No, I do use it. I have to admit, I do use it, but I use it carefully. Okay, I don't use it for. I mean, if I were a student, I will never use it for my assignment. Never. I will not use it for assignment. But if let's say I want to find articles and whatever, I may use it. Or to be safe, maybe I can use Scopus AI, because Scopus AI will only refer or go to the collection of articles within Scopus. It's already Scopus index, so you are clear of these predatory journals and all that. So I think I will do that. So again, critical mind. You have to train yourself. It's not something that you have to train. Okay, to think critically. It's not something that I give you something and you mantra or whatever, zikir, and you can be critical about it. No, it's not like that. You have to train your mind, okay? Whenever you receive news, check first. Are you sure? But yesterday I thought I read it's different. Now you always argue. You need to argue with the other party. Don't straight away, oh my God, straight away no. Okay. That's my answer,
Yeah.
Anjuri.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Doctor. Because of the factor of time, the
Yes.
fewer questions that we have, we might have to pend it to another section that we have. I must indeed thank you, Doctor, for that beautiful section that you've had with us. So, brothers and sisters, as we come to the end of today's section, I would like to express our sincere and unlimited appreciation to our Associate Professor, Dr. Alina Bintu Haj Arifi, for sharing this awesome knowledge, experience, and practical insightfulness with us. I am sure that today's workshop has provided guidance for all of us as researchers. I must sincerely admit that I've actually learned more than everybody, if I may put that at this stage. And then in this age of AI, to our participants, thank you for your active participation from the time that we begin and to this particular end throughout this section. Your presence and contribution has made this workshop meaningful and successful. And on behalf of the CPSIUM, we wish you continued success in your academic and research journey. Stay curious, stay authentic, and continue developing your unique scholarly voice. But before we end to this session, may I kindly invite everyone to turn on your camera for a group photo, please. It will be a wonderful time to capture this moment together. Thank you for your cooperation. Sister Nu?
Yeah. Just for a second. Give me. Okay, 1 second. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, another one. Okay. 1, 2, 3.